The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.
Hello everyone, No One of Consequence here, back again with a new video. This is episode 53 in a series which recounts my ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, which is now in its 10th year. So as always, spoiler alert, in this video I will be revealing details found in this adventure module. And also as a reminder, this is the current composition of the adventuring party. Before we get started, one thing I want to point out is, and this is a screenshot from the last video, when I'm narrating these battles in the videos, it's true that I tend to only focus on the frontline party members, which are pointed out here. However, I do want to clarify that Gorbadoc and Garrett do also contribute as well, typically in the form of missile fire. But of course you can't see that depicted in these screenshots. So anyway, I just want to make it clear that they aren't just hanging back, they are helping. And then another thing, you'll recall in the last video we were making jokes about the suit of fancy clothes that Thorol just happened to have stored away in his backpack. And at the time, I made the joke that this is what his suit of fancy clothes actually looked like. And if you recognize this and want to, leave a comment. And first person who correctly identifies this gets bragging rights for it. Alright, moving on. Where we left off last time, the characters were chasing after King Snurry and his queen, but they had gotten away. And so Niobe used the snakes from her Sticks to Snakes spell to help track where the giants had gone, and the snakes led the party to this flight of stone stairs leading deeper into the ground, which the characters had previously found but had not yet explored. So after that, rather than immediately pursuing the fire giants, the characters decided to return back to the Great Hall, and then from there they went to King Snurry's private quarters as well as that of his queen to see if there were any valuables that they could find there. So first they realized they were in the fire giant queen's private quarters, and Garrett began using his thief skills to pick the lock on a large iron chest. And meanwhile, Varys cast his floating disc spell to help carry the expected loot. And while that stuff was going on, Gorbadoc emptied the fire giant queen's dresser drawers, throwing all of her undergarments into a great pile there. You can see on the screenshot. However, he kept one set of giant underwear for himself, which he said he was going to use as a tent. Then next, Gorbadoc opened a small coffer or chest that was on top of the vanity, and he was immediately attacked by a poisonous snake that was hidden inside. But luckily, his very high dexterity allowed him to avoid being bitten by the snake. However, the snake frightened Gorb so badly that he dove into the pile of the queen's underwear to escape it. So Aramis stepped up and used his sword to destroy the snake. Next, Gorbadoc moved to another small chest that was sitting on the table in the corner, and he opened that up, and once again he was attacked by a poisonous snake that was hidden inside. Again, he got lucky. He managed to dodge the snake's attack because of his high dexterity, and this time he killed the snake with his short sword. By this point, Garrett had finally finished picking the lock on the iron chest, and he immediately opened the lid without first checking for traps. But unfortunately for him, the chest was in fact trapped, and it exploded in his face. And Garrett lost so many hit points from that trap that he backed off and declared that he was finished with checking any more chests in this room. So Gorbadoc volunteered to investigate the chests. Fortunately, though, they were not trapped like that first one. Then, meanwhile, Varys packed up some candied fruit that was sitting out on the table. And Gorb also checked the mattress and under the bed, but he did not find anything of value. So next, the characters moved on and began tossing King Snurry's private quarters, which, if you'll recall from a couple of videos ago, Obrak and Garrett and Gorbadoc had previously discovered through the secret door. But unfortunately, searching around this room, they did not really find anything of any value. Thorol did notice on the table a set of small bits of carved bone, wood, and stone, which he determined were used for casting divinations and for fortune telling. So he skeeved all of those items into his backpack to keep as a curiosity more than anything. So after that, and realizing that they had fully explored the upper level of the Fire Giant lair, the characters returned to their hideout cave to rest and rememorize spells and to heal up. And true to his word, Gorbadoc fashioned a pup tent from the giant-sized underwear that he had taken. So the next morning, the characters returned to the Fire Giant lair, simply walking up to the main entrance again. But this time there were no guards posted in the entry hallway, and in fact, the entire place seemed deserted. So since there was no opposition, the characters proceeded directly to those previously discovered stairs leading deeper into the lair. And they decided to send Garrett to scout ahead first, using his ring of invisibility. So Garrett soon arrived at the bottom of the stairs and then began exploring a hallway running north. And then he discovered a long hallway running east-west, which was lined with what appeared to be prison cell doors. And all of the doors were giant size, of course, and they were secured with giant size padlocks and bars. Back at the main group of characters, several minutes of game time had passed and they hadn't heard anything from Garrett. So they decided to descend the stairwell to look for him. And meanwhile, Garrett had heard them coming, and so he returned to meet them at the bottom of the stairs. And how I handle situations like this when the characters split up, we use Discord for voice chat during game sessions, and I have the voice chat room for everyone, but I also have a separate private chat, voice chat, that anytime somebody breaks off from the main group, a lot of times what I'll do is have that person drop down into the private chat, and I'll go down there too. so I can talk to them about what their character sees without the rest of the players knowing it. So anyway, the like I say, the main group of characters came down the stairs, and Garrett met back up with them. Directly across from the stair landing, the characters discovered a set of double doors, and Garrett had not previously noticed the doors when he was down here alone and in near darkness. So, at any rate, the characters decided to explore these doors first. The room behind the doors turned out to be a tomb filled with huge sarcophagi of deceased fire giants. And I know the scale really isn't perfect given how large fire giants are, but it's good enough. You get the idea. But anyway, the characters decided they were not interested in messing with any of these sarcophagi, so they made ready to leave the room. So, just as they were walking back out into the hallway, the characters were attacked by a small band of frost giants commanded off screen to the south by the frost giant Jarl himself. And you'll recall that at the end of the previous adventure module about the frost giants, that the Jarl had escaped the characters by using that teleportation device. But now here he is back with a few survivors. One of the frost giants almost immediately scored a critical hit on Obrak, and you can see the results there in the chat window. Now, the Jarl, instead of fighting alongside his warriors, he ran past the melee and up the hallway leading north, shouting something in the language of frost giants. And Gorbadoc picked up that torch with the silence spell cast on it and pursued the Jarl, hoping to quiet his attempts to raise the alarm. And Gorb, who, just as a reminder, is actually still invisible, caught up to the Jarl and slipped the silence torch into his boot. And but also at this point, and partially off screen to the left, Gorb also noticed a natural chamber containing a huge lava pool. And inside that room was a fire giant blacksmith and his troll assistant working on weapons. So, back at the intersection with the other characters, the rest of the party continued to fight the frost giant warriors and gradually getting the upper hand on them. Back to the north again, the frost giant Jarl continued to flee, now unwittingly taking the silence torch with him. But now Gorbadoc saw that the fire giant blacksmith was approaching, obviously coming to see what all the commotion further down the hall was about. And the reason for that, now that the silence torch was out of range, so the sounds of the battle were now echoing up this hall. And even more concerning to Gorb, there was a hellhound approaching from the south with its nose to the ground, and it was clearly tracking Gorb's scent. So back at the main group of characters, Thorol cast a haste spell on the party, and Gorbadoc made a mad dash back down the hall to the main group. He was pursued not only by that hellhound, but there were also some of those fire giant shield maidens approaching now. And meanwhile, even more frost giants moved up from the south. And right behind those frost giants, there were some stone giants who were coming to reinforce the frost giants. And with this whole situation at risk of getting out of control, Thorol decided to cast a fireball spell at the stone giants. And this is just a clear view of the current situation, but I turned down the dynamic lighting, darkness, and shadow effects, just so you can more clearly see everything that's going on. So that hellhound who had run up breathed fire on Gorb's guard dog, and as it turned out, this hellhound was by far the largest one that they had encountered down here. And everyone expected the dog to be incinerated by this breath weapon attack. But miraculously, the dog made a saving throw. And then that, combined with a very low damage roll that I made for the breath weapon attack, meant that the dog was down and dying, but he was not yet dead. Gorb used his, it's a thing called a healing gem, and Thorol used a bandage in order to get the dog back up above 0 hit points. And that healing gem, it's a low-level unique magic item that each of the characters had received very early in the campaign. It heals 1d8 of damage, but you can only use it once a day. And you can either use it on yourself or someone else. So I can say originally all of the characters had received one of these, but by this point in time, everyone in the party except for Gorb had lost their gem due to various mishaps along the way. While they were, you could barely see the health bar, but they got the dog back up in the positive hit points. And meanwhile, the fighter types were able to quickly defeat the stone giants, mainly because they were already badly wounded from Thorol's fireball spell. And with the stone giants defeated, the characters were then able to focus on the fire giant shield maidens to the north. And Varys took the opportunity to blaze up with some of his elf root to calm his nerves. But then all of a sudden, a single troll appeared out of the darkness to the south and attacked. Varys' guard dog, Spuds Mackenzie, tried to protect him from the attack, but he had trouble doing that. You can see there in the chat window, the dog rolled a 1 for his attack roll. And now pointed out is the result of his fumble. So then Varys' player made a dexterity check for the dog, rolling 18, which was too high, meaning the dog failed his dexterity check. So the dog did, in fact, stumble and fall down. After the shield maidens were defeated, the fire giant blacksmith attacked the characters, and he was, as you might expect, being a blacksmith, he was especially muscular and wielded a huge hammer to fight with. Unfortunately for him, I rolled terrible on his attack rolls, and he was soon defeated. And just to reiterate, I do all of my dice rolls, almost all of my dice rolls out in the open. So there was no fudging or anything here. I really did roll terrible, and the fire giant blacksmith turned out to be a kind of disappointing. So after defeating him, all of the threats were eliminated for the time being. So the characters moved north to that fire giant's blacksmith chamber, and looking inside, it was immediately clear that instead of a forge, the blacksmith used that lava pool to heat the metal he was working with. And there were several giant-sized weapons lying around, which really weren't of any use to the characters because of how big they are. But there was also a human-sized mace made from some kind of pure black metal as well. And so Niobe took that mace to fight with instead of always using the staff of striking that she had been meleeing with up until now. Alright, well, that's all I have for now. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. As always, subscribe if you haven't yet, and please share the video if you can. And anything you can do to help support the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.
The greatest